I want to teach you a concept that has really changed my life and is changing my clients' lives. It's a concept called going from good to great. And so in this video, here's what you are going to learn. You're going to learn the curse of things going well, going good in your life, and why comfort and complacency can actually hold you back from living an even more amazing life in any area. And we're talking about your health, your weight, your relationships, your finances, anything, any area. I'm going to be talking about the beauty of hitting rock bottom, although you don't have to. And once you hit this video, I'm hoping you don't have to hit rock bottom in a certain area, that you can actually have this video propel you to take any area in your life from good to great. I'm going to give you some personal examples that I'm going through right now in my life where I am choosing intentionally to go from good to great. I'm also going to give you a few client examples, and I'm going to teach you what to expect when you are going from good to great, and some things that often get in people's ways, and sometimes they self-sabotage. And so when you know what that looks like, you can expect it and you can do better. So first I want to talk about this concept. I learned it actually from Tony Robbins. I went to an event a long time ago with Tony Robbins. It was called Unleash the Power Within. If you ever get the opportunity to do an event like Tony Robbins, with Tony Robbins or someone else, a live immersive event, they're really quite amazing. I highly, highly recommend it. And he talked about it, and this is in my own words, but he talked about going from good to great, and he talked about the beauty of hitting rock bottom. And he says the reason why it's actually easier to hit rock bottom as opposed to having things going well in your life and trying to go to your own next level, he goes, when you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go. You really can only go up once you've hit rock bottom. And so how we can see this is when someone finally steps on the scale and they hit a number that they have not seen in a long time, or they're at work and they're finally just feeling like, I don't know that I want to keep doing this job anymore, or they're in a relationship and they actually start questioning their relationship, or maybe someone's just at an all-time kind of low in their life and they're like, I am really not happy. That we can think of that in certain areas of hitting rock bottom. It is in fact easier then to get help because you just feel the dread and the pain in that moment. That's actually easier. Although I don't want that for you, that is actually easier. It's actually harder to be doing well, to be living good, like good enough, because oftentimes we get complacent in the good enough. We're not in enough pain to do something necessarily really about it. And so we just stay living our life on repeat, living the same life over and over again. So I understood what Tony Robbins meant in that moment. I've never personally hit rock bottom, and I don't want to, and I don't want you to either. But oftentimes we can get stuck in this, you know what, I look pretty good, I'm in a good relationship, I'm making good money, my house is good enough, kind of this. The reason it's almost like we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to go to our own next level because we know there's going to have to be growth and challenges and doing things that might be scary or failing in our attempt to be going to our own next level. It's so much easier to stay where you are right now, especially if your life is good. So I oftentimes see this happen with some of my clients that want to lose weight. They will come to me and they will say, I'm the biggest I've ever been, or I just went to the doctor and they want to put me on a medicine, or something like that, or I really want to meet someone and I feel like I'm not putting myself out there because I don't like the way they look. In a way, there's a little rock bottom there, right? It's not the end of the world, but there's a little rock bottom energy. And so they're like, let's go. And then what sometimes can happen, let's say someone wants to lose 40 pounds. Sometimes what can happen is they lose 10, 20 pounds and that pain is gone. They're feeling better about themselves. They like what they see in the mirror. They're feeling proud. They're feeling, especially when they work with me and they do it in a sustainable way. They're not on a diet. They're like, this is amazing. I'm making better choices. I'm feeling more empowered and in control of my eating, in control of my movement. They're out of pain. They're in the good. And so then I tell them, hey, you're in the good right now. But in order for you to reach your goal, that extra 20 pounds that you said you wanted, you're going to have to be willing to throw yourself in the fire of going to your next level. What does that look like? Maybe it's being willing to fail. Maybe it's being willing to tighten up your diet even more. Maybe it's being willing to move in a way, do yoga, running, something like that, go to your own next level. And that's all of a sudden we're like, but it's so cozy here where I'm at now because it's good. And so I explain to them this concept. It's kind of pain, pleasure, good to great. I love talking about the painful realities of growth Because when you start going through the pain of growth, you'll understand what's going on. Often, not understanding what's going on, like what is happening when you start to experience failures, understand the growth that it takes to go to your own next level. When you don't understand what's going on, sometimes you can self-sabotage or you give up because you think something has gone wrong. And so this has been really powerful for me. And I want to give you an example that I'm going through right now. So years ago, I became an entrepreneur. This is a long story that I'll keep short for this video, but basically when I was in college, I took a glass fusing class. And when I had babies, I had twins right out the gate, and I had babies, and I really decided that I wanted to create some money on the side. And so I started doing this business. And it was so wonderful. And over the years and years and years, I grew this big business out of my home to multiple six figures. It started out as like jewelry, bowls, and nightlights. I don't know if you see the nightlight back there in the corner. It started out with nightlights and bowls, and then it went into jewelry, like my ring right there. So I started doing jewelry, it built this huge multiple six-figure business out of my home. Amazing. But while I went through that process, I hired a life coach. I hired a life coach to help me with my business, to help me as a mom, to help me with my relationships. And it was so powerful hiring this life coach and understanding my brain and understanding creating new habits and understanding my limiting beliefs, understanding everything I'm teaching you on my YouTube channel, that I actually decided to become a coach. And when I originally decided to become a coach, I decided just for fun. Like I told my husband, I think this is going to be an expensive $20,000 hobby. And my husband challenged me. He goes, I think that you should do it. And he goes, but I think you could really help people and I think you should make money. And so I did. I started a business. And what started out as just let's make some extra money on the side of my other business, turned out to be my new passion. And so about 5 years ago, I started this business, and the more and more I coached people on everything, I coached people on relationships, coached people on just being happier, coached people on making more money, losing weight, getting healthier, creating new habits, anxiety, all the things, I fell in love with coaching because I saw that it was changing people's lives. So I slowly started to back off of this big multiple six-figure business. And slowly. Now, to this week, I actually have just put out my last jewelry collection to my website, and I'm shutting down that business. I am now going from good to great in my life in terms of my business and my revenue and my purpose. My Gracie Glass was my business name. It was my jewelry business. It was great for so many years, but it has gotten to the point where it's good. And I want to now go take my good coaching business to great. And I know what that is going to take is it's going to take me focusing, being all in on it. The jewelry business has now become a bit of a distraction. So what to expect for myself right now that I'm going through this? I've kind of been going through it for a few months. I've been backing off. And this week I just did my last launch to my website, and I'm officially shutting down that business. What happens when you decide to go from good to great? Two main things I want to talk about is the first one is other people's opinions. When you decide to go to your own next level, you might get other people's opinions. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that other people are going to be rude to you. Maybe they are, but maybe you have, like me, have a very supportive family and friends around you. But still, sometimes even if people don't say anything negative, they might say something like, why would you do that? And that's not negative. What if they say something like, why would you do that? Your business is so great, or we're so sad, or I'm not going to be able to buy any more jewelry, right? All of those things aren't anything negative to you. They're not being rude, but it makes you potentially question yourself. It makes you go, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should just stay where I'm at. And it makes you really get into confusion and overwhelm and doubt. When we're in confusion and overwhelm and doubt, those negative emotions, it affects what we do and don't do. It affects our behavior. So we really need to be on the lookout for that, right? I've been taking probably about 6 months to really slow down to come to this decision. And this whole time I've been having, probably if I counted the amount of times that people said, oh my gosh, Maybe 50, because I have a big following here, especially in my hometown. Maybe 50. And so the whole time I would tell myself, they're not being negative. In fact, they love your jewelry. In fact, you built this big business, so it makes sense why they would say that. But what do I want to make this mean? What am I committed to doing? They might not understand the concept of going good to great. I do. I know that by shutting down this business, I'm making space to grow this one to even a bigger business, and one that affects the whole world and makes all the people, takes other people to their own next level. So other people's opinions are potentially going to get in your way. So look for, if you do this, look for confusion, doubt, and like insecurity, anxiety. And can you actually be aware enough to say, okay, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling anxiety. Why? And then you have to come up with a thought. Why? Oh, because everyone keeps questioning me. Oh, interesting. Are they right? Or is it possible that they're wrong? Is it possible I can be okay with the fact that they think this is a bad idea? Is it possible that I can be okay with the fact that they would never make this decision? Is it possible that my purpose is bigger, my purpose for myself is bigger than their purpose for themselves? And can that be okay? The other thing I want you to get aware of and be on the lookout for so you don't self-sabotage is negative emotions that come up. I was just talking about negative emotions again, but negative emotions are going to come up when you go from good to great. If you are going to decide to go to your own next level in any area, your health, your relationships, whether it's dating again, divorcing, strengthening your relationships, it doesn't matter. Whether it's making more money, starting a business, writing a book, it doesn't matter. There is going to be negative emotion involved. You are going to have to be willing to feel insecure, doubt, anxiousness, imposter syndrome, fear, shame. So many things are going to come up. And for possibly the first time in your life, can you feel those feelings and still keep moving? It's hard to do, but that's what it's going to take for you to go from good to great. And here's what I want to leave you with. Find out what your why is. Why do you want to go from good to great? I found myself over the past month when people were like, oh my God, you're not going to do the jewelry anymore. I thought that business was going so well. I found myself over explaining, trying to make them understand. I would say things like, well, first of all, I loved that business, but I did it for so long and I just feel complete. And it's really hard on my body, which it is. It's really, making the jewelry is really hard on my hands and my neck and my body. And I got to a point where I thought if I was going to keep growing it, I'd have to rent a space outside the house, and I really don't want to do that. And the coaching's at a higher profit margin. And I found myself going on and on and on, giving all of these reasons. And I finally one day I put my hands on my chest and I said, Courtney, why do you feel the need to explain? And I thought, I feel like if they understand, it makes it okay. I want them to say, I totally understand. So then it validates me. But what if it was okay that they don't understand? What if it was okay? And so then I found myself when people would say, oh my God, I thought business was going so good. Why are you doing it? I found myself going, you know what? I just want to. I love my coaching business. I feel like it's my new chapter and I'm just really excited about it. And I just allowed myself to just say that. And I allowed myself to let them think whatever they want to think. And I think most of those thoughts are good thoughts. I think that most people love me. Most people love you. But I allowed them to say whatever, to think whatever. And I'm pretty lucky. Again, I said this earlier. I have most lovely people in my life. I don't get a lot of negative, but maybe for you, you might get someone that might say, this is a bad idea. I'm really worried about this for you. Or why does it matter? You're good where you're at. Maybe you're going to get a little pushback. Can that be okay? Right? For some people, it's like, what if it's okay that the people around me don't agree with my decisions? What if all that really matters is me? And I love to say what matters most, I have a lot of supportive people, but for me, what matters most is I agree with this, my husband's on board. And I'm actually really close to my 3 grown children. And I feel pretty good if they are on board. If I tell them, because they're very intelligent and emotionally intelligent young men, and I'm very connected to them. So I'll say, hey, what do you think about this? And I really respect their opinion. But in the end, mine matters the most. So I hope that this video has made you realize, you know what? Going from good to great is not always the easiest thing, but man, can it be a powerful thing to do in any area of your life. And here's what I will tell you what happens. When you take a certain place in your life and you decide to focus on it and go from good to great, when you do that in that area of your life, all of a sudden it makes you go, what else can I do? Because you're creating evidence that you are capable of more. It increases your self-esteem, it increases your self-confidence and your self-concept, which up-levels other areas of your life. So if I can help you with this, I would love to offer you a free consultation. This is the work I do with my clients. I help them in every area of their life live a more healthy, mentally, physically empowered life. You can find me at modernbodymodernlife.com.